Nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. I don't understand this because I don't know how you're supposed to grow in
Mhm.
life if you already think you know everything. Everyone's an expert, but nobody knows shit. I don't understand why people can't admit that they're wrong. Because listen, I had to do it. You had to look in the mirror one day when it
Oh,
started
yeah.
making sense and going, why
Yep.
in the world did I love my dog so I would kill somebody if they ever tried
Yep.
to harm my dog, literally. Why wouldn't I respect a cow, a pig, or a chicken the same way? So I had to look in the mirror too and say, Gary, you know
Mhm.
what? You're full of shit. You talk about being an animal lover. You're so excited when the squirrels run around in your backyard and the
Yeah.
chipmunks and there's the bunny rabbit and you get so excited. And then you're eating corpses. You have a refrigerator
Mm.
full of corpses. You have a body full of corpses.
Best life by you, yeah, we leveling up. Strong body, clear mind, fill your cup. From the gym to the plate, you know what to do. It's your life, your health. Best life by you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Best Life by You, the podcast dedicated to helping you overcome challenges around nutrition, mindset, training, relationships, and well, all of the above. I'm your host, Julia, and today we are diving into the life of Gary Yourofsky, one of the most unapologetic, fearless, and polarizing figures in the modern animal liberation movement. Born in 1970, Gary is an American activist who completely redefined grassroots ethical veganism. In 1996, he founded the organization ADAPT, Animals Deserve Absolute Protection Today and Tomorrow, dedicating his life to an absolute opposition to all forms of animal exploitation. He is perhaps best known for his legendary hard-hitting educational lectures. Between 1996 and 2014, he spoke to over 60,000 people across thousands of schools, and his 2010 lecture at Georgia Tech went massively viral on YouTube, inspiring millions of people around the globe to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. But Gary didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. His powerful stance on direct action led to numerous arrests, including a 1997 raid on a Canadian fur farm that liberated over 1,500 mink. He served 77 days in a maximum security prison for that raid, an experience he says deeply solidified his empathy for any living being held in captivity. Though he officially retired from public speaking in 2015, his legacy as a fierce defender of the voiceless continues to spark intense conversation. So let's dive into it, Gary. Thank you so much for being here today. And I would love to really just dive in. Walk me back to when you were younger. What inspired you to do what you do today and for taking the action to go vegan?
Well, in 1993, my stepfather, Myron, was a clown in the Shrine Circus. He invites me backstage to go see the elephants. Who doesn't want to go see elephants?
Yeah.
I had my blinders on nice and tightly, though, back then. I had no idea what was going on behind the stages,
Yeah.
behind the scenes. And I went to the Michigan State Fairgrounds on Woodward Avenue, 8 Mile Road, and I was shocked beyond belief when I got back there. My whole world stopped. I'm not a wildlife biologist. I'm not a
Hmm.
veterinarian. I'm not a philosopher, but I saw animals suffering. I saw them in horrible situations, elephants in chains, monkeys and tigers and bears in cages, pacing pathetically, rocking back and forth pathetically. The elephant was swaying back and forth. And just so people understand that suffering is the same, whether it's a human being or
Hmm.
whether it's an animal, children in orphanages often rock back and forth. Lack of love, lack of family, lack of a natural environment. The bears in the circus rock back and forth when they're sitting in their cages. The elephants sway back and forth. Same reason that it's happening. No love, no family, no natural environment. So that was the first moment that my eyes were opened. And then I ended up going to a slaughterhouse in Detroit, Thornapple Valley. I wanted to know what else was going on to animals I thought I cared about. And when I got to Eastern Market area where the slaughterhouse is, yeah, it was devastating. There were 6 trucks loaded with pigs waiting to be called in. And it was like the pigs had given up at that moment. I was looking inside the truck, and I'll never forget, my eyes made contact with one pig, and his eyes were screaming at me, "Why are you doing this to us?" With tears rolling down my face, as a meat eater still, I answered back in my head, "I don't know. I don't know why we do this to you." And that stuck with me for a long time. Why in the world do we treat animals like inanimate objects, like their lives don't matter, like they don't count? Why do we victimize them when they have done nothing to deserve this victimization? We are the victimizers. And something that I've noticed that all victimizers do, they make their victims worthless. And it doesn't matter what the victim looks like. The victim could be black, could be a woman, could be a child, could be a homosexual, could be a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey. It doesn't matter what the victim looks like. To me, it's the action of the victimizer that's so bothersome. Thinking that the victimizer is more important than the victim. That's like saying the murderer is more important than the murdered.
Mhm.
So I'll never, I'll never understand why we treat animals like slaves, why we take everything away from them, their lives, their children, everything. And all they want to do is be left alone, to be honest. I don't know why we just can't leave them alone.
I I thank you for sharing that. It's given me chills. I think because of I've heard quite a few stories of people's reasoning of like what brought them to veganism. And for those listening who are very new to veganism or have no idea what it is, I don't know, Gary, if you want to take the stage because I do want to go back to your topic of animals because there's a few points. One is explaining the difference between veganism and plant based living, because those two tend to coincide. And then the second point is why do people tend to treat dogs and cats so much different than pigs and horses?
First of all, that's discrimination. So that's speciesism. And within speciesism, there's speciesism. And let me
Mhm.
define this word, which might be new to a
Yeah.
lot of people. So we know what racism is. One race thinks they're more important
Yeah.
than the other race. Sexism, one sex thinks they're better than the other sex. Well, speciesism is thinking that the human species is superior and more important than the other species.
Mhm.
But it's interesting you brought it up, at least in America and other parts of the world, dogs and
Mhm.
cats are treated like royalty, even horses, dolphins
Mhm.
most of the time, penguins. You can run down a list of animals that most humans adore, and all of a sudden, if the animal's a cow, pig, chicken, turkey, or a fish, animals that we're exploiting endlessly, that we're murdering endlessly, that we're eating, that we're wearing, all of a sudden we don't think that their lives matter. We don't
Mhm.
see them as individuals anymore. We see them as commodities and property. So,
Mhm.
what a vegan does is a vegan rejects all forms of animal exploitation. That's viewing animals as commodities, as property, as
Mhm.
slaves. So a vegan will no longer eat the flesh of animals, no longer
Mhm.
eat the things that come out of animals. And by the way, the disgusting things that come out of animals. I don't know where and when a hen's dropping the eggs that come out of the cloaca, which is the poop hole and the pee hole all in one. How
Mhm.
did this become food to human beings along the way? Secretions that ooze out of cow udders. All of a sudden, we think it's food for us.
Mhm.
And flesh, by the way, is also disgusting. It's comprised of muscles and tendons and veins and blood. So a vegan doesn't eat any animal products, but a vegan also doesn't wear animal skin. That includes obviously fur, but it includes leather, wool, silk, and down. Vegans also don't support vivisection, which is working on animals in medical research. Everybody knows what dissection is, working on dead animals. Vivisection is working on live animals. So lighting dogs on fire while they're fully conscious for burn research to see what their skin does after it's being burnt. I was just out in Wisconsin a couple months ago where we were protesting Ridgeland, this vivisection facility where they're torturing beagles. They were doing surgeries on
Mm,
them without anesthetic. They were cutting their
yes.
vocal cords without anesthetic. So we also reject vivisection, but we reject hunting, um, horse carriages, horse racing, dog racing, anything where animals are being exploited and viewed as commodities and property. And
Mm,
something else I always want to drive home to make this as simple as possible. If there is a woman on this planet, any woman, black woman, Asian woman, white woman, Latino woman, if she's pregnant, everybody agrees that that baby belongs to her.
mhm,
But all of a sudden, if a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey is pregnant, meat, dairy, and egg eaters think that their babies belong to them or
mm,
belongs to the animal industries that exploit them. To me, after 30 years, this is really simple. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. The golden rule. Live
mm,
peacefully. And if you're consuming the cut up corpses of murdered animals, of murdered baby animals, I want to drive
mhm,
this home too. We're not
mhm,
just animal killers when we're meat, dairy, and egg eaters.
mm,
Chickens grow to full weight because of genetic modification in 6 weeks. We're baby animal killers. We kill baby chickens. Pigs are killed off at 6 months. That's a baby pig
mm,
that has been genetically modified to grow to 300 pounds in 6 months. Cows are killed off at 2 years. I don't know why it's so
mhm,
difficult after all these years, after all the information that's out there for people to not be selfish anymore, not to think that the world revolves around human beings.
mm,
This animals share this planet with us, but we're not sharing it with them. And that
mm,
really breaks my heart. It breaks my heart again because they've done nothing to deserve this medieval, this diabolical treatment that we hurl on them. So I would urge people to embrace the vegan lifestyle. Now, the difference between that and plant-based is people that are just eating plants,
mm,
which by the way, I love that. That's great. It's a great step.
mhm,
But those people also aren't opposing all forms of animal exploitation.
mm,
And they might even be wearing animal skin as well.
mm,
I want to encourage people. I'm not throwing anybody out that's plant based. The vegetarians, too, by the way. So a
mhm,
vegetarian doesn't eat meat but consumes everything that comes out of an animal and wears animal skin. I want to
mhm.
bring the vegetarians and the plant based people into veganism, which is a simple step at that point.
Yeah.
Just eliminate all forms of animal exploitation from your life. And I get that it's difficult at the beginning. Why? Well, old habits are hard to break, new habits are hard to form. That's
Yeah.
across the board. And when I first went
Yeah.
vegan in 1996, I didn't know what to eat either. For 3 months, no
Mhm.
joke, I lived off peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I knew I
Wow.
didn't want to eat animals anymore.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to be an exploiter. I knew I didn't want to be a slave master to them, an abuser to them. So I was willing to do that, by the way, for the rest of my life. But after 3 months, I'll be honest, I'm like, okay, I need something besides PB&J. There's got to be something else out there. And then I learned about just eating fruits maybe for dinner. You know, eat 10 bananas as a meal. And by the way, people think it's weird when I say eat lots of fruit. Well, I used to have students email
Yeah.
me after my lecture and say, well, Gary, so I tried to eat plant-based yesterday. I had a banana and I wasn't full. I said, wait a second, you had a banana? One banana, 100 calories, and you thought that was going to do you justice. Not even a mouse on a wheel. One banana? Eat 10 bananas. That's 1,000 calories. All of a sudden, guess what? You're full. Eat an entire watermelon. Eat a cantaloupe and a honeydew, right?
Yeah.
So you eat. So
Wow.
for fruit, for frugivore eating, by the way, which is fruits and vegetables, you
Yeah.
just have to make sure you're eating enough calories. Don't
Yeah.
give me the one banana, one apple. Nonsense. Stop it. Eat 5
Yeah.
apples. Eat 5 mangoes. Again, eat multiple pieces. But
Yeah.
then I got into the grains, right?
Yeah.
Barley and millet, brown rice,
Quinoa.
quinoa. Gee, yeah, these are
Food.
meal. 1 cup is a meal. And
Yeah.
something that I found out along the way too,
Yeah.
the Roman gladiators. Dr. John McDougall does a little piece on this if people want to look this up online, but the word gladiator literally translates to barley eater. They were known as the barley men. They were vegans. They've done DNA testing on their bones, and all they find is barley. And as soon as I added barley to my diet too, I felt stronger at the gym when I'm working out.
Yeah.
So grains and lentils and split peas
Wow.
and nuts and seeds. And of course, there's all the mock meats that are out there too, which I don't do much these days.
Yeah.
I'm 30 years vegan, don't get me wrong. At the beginning, it goes mock meat, mock meat. And then it's like, I
Yeah.
really like some whole foods nowadays. I just want
Yeah.
some fruits and vegetables and grains and lentils.
Wow.
So I do want to encourage all the plant-based eaters, all the vegetarians, take that next step. It's honestly a simple step. Yes, the first few weeks, first few months are always going to be difficult, but once you get over the hump, new habits become natural.
Yeah.
And it's no longer a struggle. And by the way, when I used to do my lectures, I traveled around the country.
Yeah.
I was in 31 states, and there were times I was stuck in a small town and I didn't realize I had a night lecture like from 5:30 to 8:30. And I'd get out and going, okay, I'm going to grab something to eat. And the whole town is closed down. I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing else. So I have to go to 7-Eleven, and guess what? Not my favorite stuff, but I could find something. You could always find something.
Yes.
There's a bag of almonds. There's a bag of cashews. There's some Ritz crackers. There's some peanut butter. Okay, not my favorite thing, but there's always vegan food that's out there. And people are eating vegan food, plant-based food. They don't even realize it most of the time. Potato chips, minus the ones with sour cream and cheese added, are always going to be vegan. Oreo cookies, pretzels. I mean, there's always a lot. There's plenty of plant-based foods to find out there once you know what to look for. And that's what I mean about getting over the hump. Once you get used to it, piece of cake. And plenty of vegan cake too, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, that's for me, for my 30th birthday, one of my best friends makes cakes, and she made me a vegan cake, and no one at my party was vegan. And everybody was like, this is the best cake. I'm like, of course it is. Like, we have this. So I always love taking notes and whatnot. One, I do want to touch on the Gladiators at some point. We're going to talk about the Christianity, the Bible as well, because I want to bring that up. But the first question that comes to mind really is, being in New York, whenever I've said vegan, right, people tend to get tensed out. They roll their eyes. They get offended. Where do you think this comes from, of vegans getting such a bad rep?
I truly believe no matter how horrible most people act towards animals, deep down inside, everybody knows it's wrong. And when we bring up what's going on, you bring up the word vegan, all of a sudden that means you have to look at yourself. You have to look in the mirror. And one thing I'll tell you, after 30 years of activism, nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. I don't understand this, because I don't know how you're supposed to grow in life if you already think you know everything. I've noticed too, everyone's an expert, but nobody knows shit.
Yeah.
So people hate that. Let me just cut to the chase. Nobody knows shit, and everyone's an expert, especially with social media. But I don't understand why people can't admit that they're wrong. Because listen, I had to do it. I'm sure you had to look in the mirror one day when it started making sense and going, why in the world did I love my dog so much? I would kill somebody if they ever tried to harm my dog, literally.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I respect a cow, a pig, or a chicken the same way? So I had to look in the mirror too and say, Gary, you know what? You're full of shit. You talk about being an animal lover. You're so excited when the squirrels run around in your backyard and the chipmunks and there's the bunny rabbit, and you get so excited. And then you're eating corpses. You have a refrigerator full of corpses. You have a body full of corpses. You're a walking graveyard for murdered animals who are innocent, by the way, who have done nothing, again, to deserve the treatment that we hurl on them. People don't want to look in the mirror. People don't want to change. Change is so, people act like change is easy. My God, people fight tooth and nail to change, even simple, easy things. But look at all the human revolutions that have happened. Like, here, why did it take 400 years to convince white people in America not to own black people? How was this not a 2-minute discussion?
Literally.
I used to challenge the students during Q&A when they brought up, change. I said, well, wait a second. It took 400 years. How come when the first black person said, "Hey, what are you doing to me? Well, you stole my wife from me. My wife, you stole my baby. What are you doing to me? I don't want to live like this." How was the first white person? How didn't they did not go? Oh my God, what are we doing?
Literally.
And people get entrenched. People get entrenched in what's normal, not what's
Mm-hmm.
right, what's normal. So it was normal to
Mm-hmm.
have slaves. And right now
Mm-hmm.
it's normal to mistreat animals. It's normal to think that humans are superior. It's even normal to think that animals are stupid. I'm so tired of this stuff too. When you hear animals are stupid,
Oh
I
yeah.
used to challenge students and say they would tell me chickens are stupid. So I'd say, okay, I'm just curious. How many chickens do you know? Stop them dead in their tracks every time. They say, well, I said, how many chickens do you know? Let me guess, zero or zero. So you're making prejudicial statements about creatures that you don't even
Mm,
know. You
yeah.
want to talk about the ultimate form of discrimination, the ultimate form of racism, human race versus the animal race, racism, speciesism. I go, you don't even know these animals because I literally know hundreds of them. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what? They're nothing like you describe them to be.
Mm-hmm.
They're not stupid. They're actually super smart. They're super inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are friendly, just like dogs. And by the way, as we bring up dogs, not all dogs are friendly. Not
Mm-hmm.
all dogs want to be
It's
pet and
true.
kissed and hugged, just like
Very
some of
true.
the chickens. Some of them come up and say, "Hey, pet me, rub my belly, rub my face." Others are like, "Leave me alone. Just
Yep.
leave me." So I
Like
so
humans.
they're individuals, just like you, right?
Yeah.
So, but the animals are just like that too. They're individuals. Some of them like to be
Yeah.
social, some of them don't. So, this is really just this ultimate form of discrimination. And to
Mm,
get back to your question, why people get so upset? Listen, who wants to be called out and told that they're wrong? But
mm.
it's necessary for human growth.
Oh,
When do
absolutely.
we evolve as a species? When do our circles of compassion open up to include those that have been left out? And we've done this with human beings. We act like we're all perfect. Are you kidding me? Go ask black people if we're perfect. Go ask women if men are perfect. Go ask
Yeah.
gay people if straight people are perfect. Are you kidding me? We've had to fight these battles to get other humans included. And now the vegans of the world are fighting these battles on behalf
Yeah.
of cows and pigs. And all they really want is to be left alone. Can they have their babies that are theirs?
Mm,
Can they keep the skin on their body that belongs to them? Can they
mm,
keep the flesh that's on their body that belongs to them? I've heard a lot of
mm,
people say, oh, you can't take my meat away from me. Your meat? When did it become when did that cow's body become yours? When did that pig's body
mm.
become yours? Are you kidding me? I mean, we've literally gone psychotic with how we treat and how we do animals. We're two-legged devils. We truly are. And I'll get you
Wow.
started on that whole Bible stuff.
Yeah.
People walk around talking
Yeah.
about people walk around talking about we're the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
You mean these two-legged devils that torture and kill every creature in sight? This is what God does? Are you kidding me? This is I've never once. I'm 55 years old, Julia.
Yeah.
I've never looked at a human being in my life and seen God. No matter how wonderful that human was, Dr. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Frederick Douglass, Harriet
Mm.
Tubman, I've never looked at a human being and seen God.
Well, we're all
Every time,
imperfect.
yeah, every
Everybody's
time I
imperfect.
look at animals, I see God though. Every time I look at an
Mm,
animal, I not only see God, I see God in that animal. And I want to let
mm,
people know if you believe in God, then God created the animals. And if you
mm,
are murdering animals, you're murdering God. And that's blasphemous. That's obscene. The Garden of Eden was a vegan haven. Genesis
mm,
1:29, God's first dietary law was, I give you seed-bearing plants for food. Isaiah 11,
mm,
7, God's last dietary law is the wolf will live with the lamb, the cow will feed with the bear, the lion will eat straw like the ox, a child will lead them, and no one will harm on my holy mountain. The most perfect states that God
mm,
created, the Garden of Eden and the holy mountain, are vegan. Do you think that's an accident? Or do you think
mm.
that's the only way that we can have a perfect existence? So while I know humans are sinful, and we are imperfect beings. Why don't we strive towards these perfect states? Because right now we put zero effort into making this world a kinder place for the animals. And I also noticed too, you may have
Yeah.
noticed this too, all religious people, I don't care, Christian, Jewish, Muslim,
Yeah.
whatever, Buddhist, every religious person I've ever met only worships things that humans created in God's name. The Bible, the Quran, the mosque, the Wailing Wall, Star of David, the cross, the rosaries, and everybody shits on everything that God created. God created the animals, kill them all. God created the animals, cut those beaks off those hens, cut
The
those horns
water,
off
the
that cow,
rivers.
steal that animal's baby, right? All we do
Yeah.
is pollute the air, pollute the water, cut
The
down the forest.
rivers, yeah.
Everything God created, nobody respects, nobody honors, but everything that we made in God's name, people honor and worship. I was in Israel in 2012 and 13 for a lecture tour,
Wow.
and I only lasted like 30 seconds in front of the
Wow.
Wailing Wall, because they brought me down there to see it, and all I saw were hundreds of people praying to this friggin' wall. It's a wall. I don't care if it was the wall of the first church. It's concrete. There's no God in concrete. God is not in inanimate objects. God is in animate objects. So I told her, I said, get me out of here right now because I'm about to cause a scene. This is like the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen in my life. People worshiping a wall. But listen, Julia, when I started in 96,
Yeah.
I could not wait to talk to one group of people. No joke, religious
Wow.
people.
Wow.
I couldn't wait. I'm like, oh, wait till they find out what I'm going to tell them. And all I ever got from the religious crowd was God says it's okay. That's why he put animals here. We have dominion. And by the way, since when did dominion turn into dominate, destroy, and kill and torture? Dominion is to take care of. Parents have dominion over their children to protect them, not to violate them. And that's all we do is violate these animals. And I hate to say it. And listen, I've reached a ton of religious people, by the way, as I say all this. They are the toughest group to talk to, but I have converted tons of religious people once I explain everything to them. Here's a quick story. I was at Macomb County Community College, Michigan. And during the Q&A, I had this kid arguing about the Bible. So I started counting like this. He's talking, counting. I get to 7. Everyone's looking at me like, what is he doing? And finally, the kid stops and he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm counting how many times you say the word kill. Continue. And it stopped him dead in his tracks. I said, did you have anything else to say? He said, no. I went on with the Q&A after class. He came up to me, said, in the name of Jesus, I'm going vegan. I can't believe all I was saying was kill. I said, yeah, I was surprised too. When do you love in the name of God? How come religious people only want to kill in the name of God? When do you ever love in the name of God? Because loving animals, his creations, could only bring you closer to God. It would not bring you further away. Killing his animals brings you further from God, further from things that are holy and righteous and wonderful.
I'm curious because I'd set in I don't know, do you know Milton Mills, Dr. Milton Mills? He's
oh yeah, he's one of my favorite people.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I had set in on a lecture with him about him pretty much pastoring about, Christianity in the Bible. And one of the questions that kept coming up was from the audience was, well, after the fall of man, when Jesus came in the New Testament, fish were introduced, people fed on fish, people fed on that. And they were like, well, that's due to the fall of man, that we've progressed as a society towards including animals into our diet. How do you go about something like that? Because that was something people had, because I am great with the Garden of Eden and I fully believe all of that. How do you go about something like that?
Well, first of all, people should watch the movie Christspiracy to get the real teachings of Jesus. And right here is the Gospel of the Nazarenes. This is one of the Gospels that are considered apocrypha. And apocrypha means that they consider this to be an inauthentic gospel. But why is this considered an inauthentic gospel? Well,
Mm.
let's see if you can see all my little yellow
Yeah.
post-its.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all Jesus being vegan. This is all Jesus preaching about animals. And that
I
story
love
about
that.
feeding the multitudes with fish,
Yeah.
it's funny. In the Nazarene gospel, it has him using melons. And I just want people to use
Interesting.
logic for a second. When
Yeah.
people talk about this feeding people who are starving, who have had no fluids for days upon days. What doctor, what nutritionist in the right mind would feed somebody raw fish if you've been starving?
Mhm.
That's not even you can find the most
Yeah.
hardcore carnivore doctor and you wouldn't say, wait, you haven't had food in 5 days and you haven't had
Yeah.
water in 3 days? Here's a
Yeah.
piece of flesh? Or how about
Yeah.
here's a melon? Here's some fruit. Here's some bread.
Mm.
Other stories have them also using bread, but let's not forget, even in the Standard Bible, Mark 1:17, Jesus says, "Come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." He had
Mm.
them put down their fishing nets. He had them stop killing fish and going out trying to save, trying to help, other beings.
Yeah.
And let me throw this out there too. I know this is radical stuff.
No,
You're never
go
gonna
dive
you're
into
never
it.
you're
Dive
never
into it.
gonna find the truth if you don't go radical. Um,
Yeah.
so Jesus was born in a
Manger.
manger.
Yep.
A manger is a barn.
Yeah.
Who lives in a barn? Humans or animals?
Animals.
Okay, so
Animals.
Jesus, the Son of God, was born around the animals in
Yeah.
a place where animals live. Jesus's last act before he was crucified was going to the temple, not only getting the money changers out, opening up all the cages to let all the animals go free who were going to be sacrificed. So his last act was an act of animal liberation. You wonder why he
Mm.
was killed, by the way? He was an animal liberationist. So he was born around the animals. He died for the animals. I have some harsh news for everybody. Jesus did not come to save human beings. He came here to save animals from human beings. That's another story that has gotten messed up along the way.
Wow.
He came for them. But humans are great thieves, aren't we? We are just thieves. We not only steal from each other, we don't only rob from each other, we steal everything from the animals I talked about. We steal their babies, their flesh, their skin, their lives. We also
Wow.
stole their Messiah. He's the animal Messiah.
Interesting.
And I encourage people to go look at the Nazarene gospel and find all the endless quotes about Jesus saying, walk humbly with your creator, be peaceful, put no flesh meat in your mouth, eat nothing that comes from death. Do not eat things that have been strangled. Do not eat things with blood in them. Jesus was a frugivore in all
Mm.
likelihood. Fruits and vegetables. Yeah. But listen,
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
not trying to take anybody away from Jesus, from God,
Yeah.
whatever you believe in. I'm just trying to help the animals. And there is no God that mandates the killing of animals. Oh, and by the way,
Mm.
standard Bible stuff. What are the four most important words in the Bible that everybody ignores?
Oh,
Thou
shall
shalt
not kill.
not kill. Huh. But all of a sudden, no, that doesn't include animals. So you talk to most Christians, most Jews, oh, well, that doesn't include animals. Geez, but didn't we go through this already with humans? Didn't white people used to say, oh, well, that doesn't include blacks? Didn't straight people used to say that doesn't include homosexuals? Haven't men said that doesn't include women? It's the same mistake over and over again. This is like a sick joke. And by the way, here's the one negative thing about veganism. You get to see everything for how it actually is. It has literally melted my brain the last 30 years to see the smartest, dumbest beings that have ever existed. These two-legged creatures walking around with cell phones, technology. Again, brilliant. You can't explain to me how a cell phone works, no matter how much you want to sit down. You can't tell me how a computer works, how a television works, how tomorrow night I could watch the San Antonio Spurs play New York, but I'm sitting here in Detroit. What do you mean I could watch the game? So we are the smartest, dumbest beings, but we can create all this technology, but we can't create peace. Right? The dumbest being, all we do is poison this world, poison ourselves too. By the way, am I also supposed to believe that God said, eat flesh, clog your arteries, get heart disease, get cancer, but be fruitful and multiply? God gave us food that kills us? That doesn't sound like God. That sounds like the devil. And what's the devil's greatest trick? Convincing people to do things in God's name that he would never condone. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. 1 in 2 people die from heart disease. Does anybody think that people are dying from blueberries and plums and bananas and asparagus and broccoli? You mean hospitals around the world are filled with people who are eating too much broccoli? Do people turn on the 5 o'clock news and actually see a story like this? Hey, John Smith died from a massive coronary yesterday. What happened to John? Oh, he was eating too many plums. I told him those plums were going to take him down one day.
Wow.
Look around. Use lot. There's a drugstore in every street corner in America. From what? From people eating too much broccoli, too much asparagus, too many peas. You watch
Sure.
TV, right? Every commercial is McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, KFC, Arby's, meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. And then in between those commercials, what do we have?
Drug.
Not feeling so well. Hey, you need a pill. You need this. You need that. You need a laxative. I mean, what do you think people need stool softeners for?
Yeah.
For eating too much fiber or no fiber whatsoever because you're eating nothing but meat. It's so obvious. So this is the only downside of veganism is you have to see humans for the stupid beings that they truly are, for the selfish beings that they truly are. And I don't say, I mean, listen, it's kind of funny. I do have a comedic bone in me. George Carlin is one of my favorite people ever, but it's sad. I didn't start out wanting to hate my species so much. But the fact that we're so stubborn and selfish and egotistical, it's a turnoff. It's not flattering. I don't know why people are proud to be superior to animals. What a weird thing to be proud of. Well, I'm better than a cow. Well, and by the way, I don't care if you think you're better than a cow. Leave the cow alone. But think whatever you want. I'm not the thought police. It's your actions that I'm concerned about. You harming and killing somebody else, stealing somebody else's baby, paying other people to steal somebody else's baby. That's what bothers me. So think whatever you want. You can think, oh, Gary's crazy about his take on Jesus, whatever. You think Jesus would be working in a slaughterhouse? You think Jesus would be anally electrocuting foxes on fur farms? Do you think Jesus would be vaginally electrocuting chinchillas on fur farms, lighting dogs on fire for burn research, cutting the heads off of cows in a slaughterhouse? You got to be kidding me. How have people made Jesus out to be this animal killer? But I'll tell you what, I know why they've done it. What better way to sleep soundly at night than to say your creator, your God, okays your lifestyle? It's brilliant. This is how white slave owners slept.
And that we're all sinners. And the fact we all are sinners. We get that. But the fact, oh, well, I'm a sinner anyway.
But you know what's weird too? So that's probably the first thing Christians want to tell me. Humans are sinners. Okay. I say, okay, that's fine. I agree. So then I tell them the biggest sin ever, killing somebody else for no reason. It's not self-defense, which would be justifiable. It's not vicarious self-defense, defending somebody else who can't defend themselves. I tell them about the worst sin ever, and then they deny it. I'm like, you just told me you were a sinner. Then what's the sinner? Is it just a phrase that you say as a member of this cult? Is it just a phrase, I'm a sinner? Okay, I agree we're all sinners. So why don't we strive to eliminate the sin? And the easiest way to eliminate the most amount of sin on this planet, empty the slaughterhouses, empty the vivisection laboratories, stop killing and torturing billions. And let me throw some numbers out there. More than 80 billion land animals every year on this planet are killed by the meat, dairy, and egg industries. More than 2 trillion marine animals by the meat industry. This is suffering on the grandest scale. You could add up all the human beings since the beginning of time who have been tormented, tortured, killed, and those numbers pale in comparison. Probably in 1 week, more animals have been tormented and killed. Probably in 1 day, more animals have been tortured and killed than all humans throughout history. And something else people should make a connection with is, do you know why humans are so good at enslaving other human beings? We are experts at enslaving others. We practiced on the animals first. They were the first victims of slavery. They were the first victims on this planet. We became experts at all the evil things we've done to each other because we used animals first. And there's this, I can't, I've literally never found one justification for why humans mistreat animals the way we do. Seriously, what is the justification? People have asked me, Gary, what's the toughest question you ever got? Actually, there's one tough question I'll come in,
Yeah.
I'll talk about in a second, but I've never had a tough question. I- it, this shit is easy. It's like you're trying to justify slavery, baby stealing, rape, and murder. This is easy stuff once you're thinking clearly. But you know what the toughest question I ever got was from a seventh
Mm,
grader. He said, "What happens today, Gary, when I go home and my mom says I can't be vegan?" That was the only thing that ever stumped me for a second.
mm,
But I've never been stumped, because if I'm stumped, if I don't have an answer, then animals deserve this treatment. And Lord
mhm,
knows they don't deserve this treatment. So this whole thing about says it's okay. What about protein? 12, tomatoes feel pain. That's why animals were put here. These are all dumb, lame excuses. They're all, it's just, and by the way, I've been to 31 states. I've been to several different countries to prove that humans are really robotic, that we're just automatons. We just repeat what we're told. How can somebody in Israel, in Spain, in Germany, in Minnesota, in Michigan, in New York, how can everybody say the same things about animal oppression if we weren't lied to and told what to say? There's
mm,
no way that this could happen and
yeah,
everybody could say God says it's okay,
mm,
unless your church, your synagogue, your mosque tells everybody God says it's okay. God says it's okay. Then everyone says, "Oh, God says it's okay. We can eat cows. We can eat pigs. We can eat chickens. God says it's okay." Really? When does logic ever come into play with religious people? And by the way, I'm only harsh
yeah,
on religious people
yeah,
because they're so harsh on animals. Listen, I
mm,
believe in
yeah,
God, for the record, and
yeah,
Jesus. I know it's going
yeah,
to shock people.
yeah,
I just don't believe, I don't believe God and Jesus live in a book.
yeah,
That's the difference between me and
yeah,
everyone else. Everybody goes to this book. Oh, the book, the book. I just had this discussion with somebody at the
yeah.
gym. He kept bringing up the book. And I said, "You have to go to a book? You have to consult a book to figure out
To
whether
feel,
raping somebody is wrong?"
yeah,
Yeah, well, I don't need a book to tell me if I should steal somebody else's baby. I'm going to use the brain that God gave me and go, that that calf belongs to that mama cow. It's not mine. No. But like
yeah,
people memorize a book. People tell me they
I
believe
know.
in God. They believe in a book about God. They don't believe in God. If you believe in God, you'd be like me and see God in the cows, the pigs, the chickens, giraffes, and rhinos and hippos. I look at a
Everywhere. Yeah.
tree, I see God. I look
Everywhere.
at water, I look at the ocean. I'm like, oh my, look what God created. God is
Yeah.
everywhere, but nobody sees that. They just want to
Yeah.
memorize this book and show up at a building once a week, maybe twice a week, sing songs to the sky, grow a long beard, put on a big hat, dip somebody in water, circumcise a little baby boy's penis. I mean, what are these all rituals?
Yeah.
This is why I'm really hard to.
Yeah.
Religion has turned into rituals. It's just rituals. When do we ever just, when do we ever become good people? Everybody wants to do a ritual for God. God doesn't want
Mhm.
rituals. He doesn't.
Wow. That's
There's
so,
a long ramble for
honestly,
you, by the way.
that's
Ask me a question. I'd go on.
I no, I love this because it's so you talk about this and being programmed as kids and whatnot. Like when I started saying that I was going vegan, the amount of judgment and the amount of people who would say, "Oh, it's temporary," or "Why can't we do this?" or whatnot, and they're like, or they think it's such a big deal for cross contamination. They think it's a big deal, like if we're like, no, I don't want meat in my house. It's like you can respect even the cultural practices of people who are like, I can't have meat in my house due to religion and culture, but like a decision that's not religion or culture, they're like, oh, why? That's so weird. Like, why would we have that? So it's so refreshing to hear somebody so educated in this area that has answers because people will just and again I harp on the religion aspect and again I'm glad to hear like you believe in God, you believe in Jesus because I'm a person who I don't necessarily go to church, but I have the strongest relationship with God and I see God everywhere. I pray every day and it's the blessings around. You're right. Like everything around is a blessing from God. You look at the trees outside, you look at the mountains, you look at all of that. And why do we pollute the rivers? Why do we ruin things? Why do we do that? And people go back to, I've gotten into this debate too, because people are like, I don't know if it was gladiators or Spartans. There was a time period where they're like, well, all these men ate on meat or lived on meat and they were the strongest. But I'm like, where, like, provide that context, because even you saying the gladiators, you broke it down for everybody of what they ate. So, and look
They
at the
were known
strongest
as the
animals in the
strongest
kingdom.
of the strong.
Yes.
They were known, and
Yes.
they had barley. They were barley
Yeah.
men.
Yes.
People are going to be shocked when they find out the truth. And by the way, really good scripture here
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the Nazarene Gospel. This is Jesus. For the fruits of the trees and the seeds of the herbs alone do I partake, and these are changed by the Spirit into my flesh and my blood. Of these alone and their like shall you eat, those who believe and are my disciples. For of these in the Spirit, life and health and healing to man. And again, all these
Yeah.
post-its
Yeah.
are all veganism, and it never stops, man. And
Why
once
do
I
people
found, and
not want to use that? Why do people not turn to that or refer to that one? Do they think
so
it's, yeah.
this goes a little deeper. And
Oh, okay. Oh.
Emperor Constantine, I forget the exact years. It was in the years 200 or 300, but he formed a council called the Council of Nicaea, Nicea. Uh, at that time, this council decided which scriptures were going to be put in the Standard Bible and which ones were going to be labeled as apocrypha, as faulty or as false.
Yeah.
So Nazarene gospel got excluded, and actually the gospel of Thomas, gospel of Philip, Mary Magdalene had a gospel. These were all excluded, and there are references in those gospels too to veganism as well. And even though the
Wow.
Standard Bible has plenty of them, and by the way, I can Hosea 2:18 states that in that day I will make a covenant with the animals. All the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, bow and sword and battle I will abolish, so all may lay down in safety. There are countless scriptures, even in the Standard Bible, that talk about veganism, but people always want to turn to ones that don't. So if you have conflicting scriptures, one that's peaceful, one that preaches veganism, one that preaches killing animals, torturing them, stealing their babies, and cutting up their
Sacrificing.
bodies,
Yeah.
why does everybody ignore the peaceful scriptures and accept the violent ones? It's really bizarre to me. And one of the main problems is nobody ever wants to look at this from the victim's point of view. It's always from the victimizer's point of view. In my famous speech, the Georgia Tech one, I urge people early on in that speech, which is why I think it works so well. I don't care about your point of view right now. You need to look at this as if you were a cow, pig, chicken, or turkey, and then try to use these ridiculous justifications that you're thinking about right now. All of a sudden, it's a lot different when you're the victim. So and I don't know why this is so difficult, but if we looked at things from the victim's point of view, we'd have to change. And once again, people hate to change. People really despise changing, and I don't know why. Again, slavery, 400 years, what? Nobody wanted to change. It was free labor. Why do you want to? I don't want to pay somebody to work in the fields. We'll just use the black people. I just don't understand how stubborn and selfish and cruel and evil we are. Where does it come from? Because I don't believe when we're babies, when we're really young, I don't think we're like that.
No,
But
we're not. You
but
put a baby in a room full of all different babies, they're going to talk to any baby. Doesn't
right,
matter what
right.
the baby
Same
looks
thing with
like.
the animals. They're gonna play. I also had
They're
that
gonna play.
part of my speech,
Yes.
and it wasn't mine. Everybody thinks it's mine. It's actually an author, Harvey Diamond, and it put a 2-year-old child in a crib,
Yeah.
with a bunny rabbit and an apple. If the
Apple.
child
Yes.
eats the bunny rabbit and plays with the apple, I'll buy you a new car.
Yeah.
So society does a wonderful job at programming, at taking out our humanity, taking out the compassion, burying it deep inside. And my job and the job of all the vegan activists around the world, I'm trying to deprogram, unbrainwash. I'm trying to awaken and reawaken people. I want to put them back in touch with that
Yeah.
childhood innocence. I want to bring them back to those days where when we were young, we used to look at animals in awe.
Yeah.
We were so happy to see animals. And even if we were scared, some kids are scared. Nobody wanted the animal hurt. We just wanted to
Yeah.
be taken away from the animal or to
Yeah.
move the animal away from us.
Yeah.
Because we would have screamed and cried if somebody was mean to an animal in front of us. So we start out, screaming and crying if somebody's mean to an animal. Then all of a sudden we take part in it later on in life and we mock it, we
Mhm.
make fun of it. We
Mhm.
actually support the victimization of animals. And for what? For a sandwich that you don't need? For shoes
Mhm.
that you don't need? Well, you can't buy canvas shoes. I mean, you can't buy microfiber suits. All of a sudden, like, what do we need? We have linen. There are so many materials that don't come from animals. When did somebody else's skin become a pair of shoes, a briefcase, a coat? It's
Mhm.
so obscene what we do. And again, this is what's maddening. It's obvious. It's right in our
Mhm.
faces. And oh, you know what? There's so much propaganda too that programs us.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna set up the camera behind me when I'm watching TV because it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what station I go to. Within 2 minutes, somebody's eating an animal, somebody's making fun of an animal,
Yeah.
somebody's mocking vegans. I'm watching the Antiques Roadshow the other day. Really cool
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
on PBS, right? So I flick it on within 5 minutes. I actually have this saved. I might use this in an upcoming
Yeah.
Instagram video. In
Should.
5 minutes, the first thing he was showing this old case, and he goes, "Look, and it's ostrich skin." And I turn to Carmen, my wife. I'm like, "I just want to watch Antiques Roadshow and
Yeah.
see some old pieces of art. Here comes the ostrich skin." And then all of a sudden, they
Wow.
show this guy found this painting at this garage sales from a woman whose last name was LaFrance. And in the painting, there's a picture of a restaurant, and it says "hot fish." This is all within five. I'm like,
You literally, yeah, you see it everywhere.
it
Program.
doesn't matter what station I
So
turn
true.
to. Doesn't matter what TV show I'm watching, what sitcom and sport. I'm a sports junkie. Do you know how many times I have to sit through games or Sports Center and all of a sudden, hey, did you see that new sandwich at the Arizona Diamondbacks new stadium? Oh my God, what a sandwich! It's like this
Yep.
big, man. There's so much meat and bacon in it. I'm like, this is sports. Why are you talking about eating dead animals? And God forbid the Thanksgiving Day football games, which
Yeah.
I love to watch.
Well,
Here
yeah.
comes the fucking turkey's leg. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is, I can't even watch sports without a reference to eating meat within 2 minutes of whatever
Mm.
game, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, golf, it doesn't matter, NASCAR, it doesn't matter what I'm watching on
Mm.
TV. It's
Mm.
just endless, but that is the epitome of propaganda. It
Mhm.
is everywhere.
Yep.
Wherever you look, wherever you turn, society says,
Yep.
eat animals, eat them. They don't count. They don't matter. Humans are special. Humans are wonderful. Forget about the animals. Animals don't count. Oh, but love your dog, love your cat, but eat those cows, eat those pigs. And how about
So true.
Chick-fil-A? How about the
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A campaigns been going on for 20 some odd years? I like how they pit the cow against the chicken. They got the cow in the commercial telling people to eat more chicken.
It's so
This is brain melt.
brainwashed. It's
It's
brainwashing.
so
Yeah.
psychotic to me, and then people think it's
Wow.
cute and funny. And I don't know when slavery, rape, murder became cute and funny. And one more thing about God, George
Yeah.
Carlin once said that more people have been killed in the name of God than for any other reason. I like them
Wow.
just make an
Yeah.
addendum to that and say more people and animals have been killed in the name of God than for
Yeah.
any other reason. And it's amazing because I thought once again you were supposed to love in the
Yeah.
name of God. The meek
Mm-mm.
shall inherit the earth. But all we do is destroy and pollute and by the way, hold on, I should
I
bring this
just,
up. I don't think Jesus is ever coming back because if Jesus ever came back and he told everybody to stop eating animals, stop harming animals,
yeah.
love homosexuals, be nice to everybody, put women on an equal status with men, everybody would fucking kill him again. They absolutely kill him again. It's like, you want to know why he's never coming back? Because everything he tell you to do, you don't want to do. I know it's radical, but there's truth in radicalism.
Yeah, that's wow. Cause listen, I'm here. I'm a person that's always going to listen to people's sides and arguments and make it make sense, right? I'm like, you have all the data, all the science, all the common sense aspects of it. So it's like, why would we want to partake in that? Because if you asked an average person to go out and kill an animal at night, here's a huge fruit tray. You can have a huge fruit tray for dinner, or you can go ahead and kill your own dinner. When did it become something like, oh, I'll go kill my own dinner? I'm sorry. Probably 1 out of 10 people would actually take action and do that. The rest of people would be like, no, I'm going to go
I'm
with the
not
fruit
even
bowl.
sure. I think
You don't even
I
think
think
that
your
10 out
stat
of,
is
you
too
think,
high.
yeah, you think
Listen,
everybody would go for the fruit bowl.
98% of the world is not vegan. I believe 97% of those 98% would not kill an animal. I know if
Yeah.
I was when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
growing up, Julia, if
Yeah.
you gave me a knife
I would
and
never,
said,
never.
go kill that
No.
cow, I thought, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah,
I
no.
would just shove that knife in that
No.
cow's throat. But what do? We pay other people to do the dirty work for us, and then we keep it hidden. We keep it
Mhm.
hidden. And then, God forbid, somebody goes inside and gets footage. Joey Carbstrong, a wonderful activist from
Yeah.
Australia living in Britain right now, he just went undercover at a slaughterhouse. And he showed it's some of the most horrible things. And of course, slaughterhouses
Yeah.
are horrible. It's houses of slaughter. But they were dismembering fully conscious animals, which is completely routine. He presents this evidence to the public through news outlets that wanted to cover it, to the DA, to the prosecutor in the city. They arrested him
Of
for
course they did.
trespassing.
Of course
So
they
this
did.
is what I'm so then if somebody goes and gets the
Oh,
evidence, all of a sudden we don't take action on the
no.
slaughterhouse. We take action on the person exposing what goes on inside of a slaughterhouse.
But that's not just slaughterhouse. That is I went
Everywhere.
on a walk. Oh, we have a cure. We have a cure for cancer through mushrooms. Oh, kill the person. Kill the person who said they have a cure. No, we don't do that. So it's
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, you're so knowledgeable. You need to go speak to the government. You need to go like
Well, listen, I always thought that I could. So I had a 50% conversion rate, Julia, when I gave lectures.
wow.
So and that's amazing because I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
speaking. I
incredible.
wasn't speaking to so-called friendly areas. I mean, I was
Yeah.
in rural America. I went to places that nobody ever wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And I was having a 50% and sometimes more, but I was
Yeah.
having 50% success. Give me 60 to 70 minutes and I can deprogram people as long as people are listening. But man, it's so difficult. It was so stressful because I walked into every classroom and it was the same. Everyone had their arms folded. Everyone's
Yeah.
muttering under their breath. Man, I should have brought a hamburger. This fucking PETA guy's here today. I should have brought my deer head in for him. And I heard everything. Now, I want you to know I never got mad at anybody before a lecture because that's how I used to act. So I said, oh, okay, big talkers. Okay. So in 10 minutes, all of a sudden their arms would become uncrossed.
Yeah.
I popped the slaughterhouse footage in 15 minutes. All of a sudden, they're one hand's on top of their head like this. They're like, "Oh my god!" They're looking around the room, and then I'm using humor because I have two
Yeah.
people I patterned my activism after, Malcolm X and George Carlin. So it was a militant comedy roast.
Yeah.
Then I brought up bestiality. I said, "You guys squeeze cow titties, you eat things that come out of hen asses. You eat thighs, you eat rumps, but vegans are weird." Because we eat
Yeah.
tofu, so they all laugh. So I could break people down so well.
Yeah.
My
gosh.
But it's tough. It's tough to get 60 minutes of uninterrupted talk. So, like on Instagram, I put out videos. I have some great
Yeah.
videos, but it really
Yeah.
depends on whether the person is going to listen. So it really does depend on the listener as well. Is somebody ready to receive this information? Is somebody ready to
Yeah.
listen to the truth, or do people want to stay blind? And every time an argument happened, Julia, the first thing that did go through my mind was, man, I wish I didn't know. Life was so much easier
When you
when I
didn't.
didn't
Yeah.
know. Ignorance is bliss. That
It's
adage is
bliss.
so true. And that's why you brought this up earlier. Why do they get mad at
Yeah.
us? We're ruining their bliss. We're ruining their blissful existence. Oh, wait a
Yeah.
second. I can't just go out and have chicken wings. I can't go to Buffalo Wings with my friends tonight. No. And why is that more important than somebody else's life? And by the way, playing loudly enough, and Buffalo Wild Wings is gonna end up with vegan ones soon. So just,
Hmm.
all that stuff that you like, you can veganize it too. And by the
Yeah.
way, there's one thing in my speech I wish I could change, because the
Hmm.
more I thought about it over the years, I realized I was wrong about something. So I had that funny part while I was asking people, name 2 words why people eat meat. And it's weird because as much as they want to attack us,
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that's easily attacked. I'm
Yeah.
I'm, I'm kind of forceful.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can say it. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
mad. Say the 2 words, and finally
Yeah.
people would yell out, "Tastes good." I'm like, yes, tastes good. But the longer I live now, 30 years vegan, it doesn't taste good. Because if I killed a chicken and threw it on their desk and said, "Go ahead, eat it," they say, "Oh, you gross. It's disgusting." So you don't like the way meat actually tastes. You like the way it's prepared.
Prepared.
So we like it when
Mm.
it's baked, when it's fried, when it's broiled, when it's covered in oil. Put it between 2 slices of bread with pickles and onions and lettuce and tomatoes and mustard and ketchup. We do everything in our power to mask the taste of flesh, because why? It's disgusting. Have you ever driven down the road, seen an animal dead on the side of the road, and started to salivate? You are not a meat eater. It's gross and disgusting. But if you cover it in oil, put some salt and some sugar on it, 2 slices of bread, mustard and ketchup, hey, this tastes pretty good. Well, this is why we can do vegan meats. We prepare it the same way. We load it with oil and salt and sugar. I'm not saying it's super healthy, but if you want that taste, the taste is easy. It's
Hmm.
fat, sugar, and salt. You can make it. You can make an old catcher's glove taste well.
Hmm.
Put some sugar,
Yeah.
some salt, and some oil on it. You're like, what? It's not that
Yeah.
bad, really, because all that stuff tastes great. So people don't like the way meat tastes. They like the way it's prepared.
Prepared. Damn.
Yes.
That is so wow. It's like mic drop right there.
Yeah.
But even we had so I definitely after I make this comment, I want to pivot to Sasha's farm. So the one thing I was gonna say about propaganda, right? And I've had this argument with people about soy milk versus dairy milk and the benefit. Oh, raw milk is the way to go. That's how we've always done it. We've never had issues in the past. And then and I've heard it all. I've heard it all. You have heard it all. I know you have. But then it's like soy milk, and then I'm like, oh, well, you mean the isoflavones that it has? It's a phytoestrogen. It's from a bean. A bean is gonna cause the cancer, but not the hormones that are coming from a pregnant cow. So make that make sense to me. And then they're like, well, that's how it's always been. And I'm like, I so that propaganda, I don't know if you've had comment on that of like
Sure.
the soy milk versus the dairy milk,
Well, they
because
bring.
yeah,
So first of all, let's do common sense.
yeah.
So common sense is cows make milk for baby cows.
Hmm.
Giraffes make milk for baby giraffes.
Hmm.
You could run down the list. Rhinos make milk for baby rhinos. But all of a sudden, people think that cows make milk for baby humans or adult humans. It's absolutely absurd. Why in the world do we think there's any logic in us consuming milk from a cow? It is completely illogical in every way, shape, or form. Then the phytoestrogens. So if people think estrogens are a problem for humans, well, then why are they drinking cow's milk? Cow's milk comes from a female animal. Do you know there is twice the amount of estrogen in cow milk than there is in soy milk? So if you want to avoid, and by the way, if you want to avoid soy milk, be my guest. Nobody says you have to drink soy milk as a vegan. I don't drink any plant-based milks. I don't care for any of it. I'm not saying it doesn't taste good. I just don't have. I don't eat cereal anymore. It's not a part of my life. I really don't drink plants. So don't drink soy milk. And by the way,
No.
there's hazelnut milk. There's no estrogens in there. There's cashew milk. There's pistachio milk. There's almond milk. There's plenty of other milks.
Hmm.
And meat also has estrogen. So if people are concerned about
Hmm.
the estrogen talk, you'd still have to be vegan and just avoid things that you think might have estrogen in them. And by the
Yeah.
way, there's tofu nowadays, which I do eat every day. There's tofu that's made from fava beans. It's by a company called Big Mountain. It's
Hmm.
got 64 grams of protein,
Hmm.
0 fat.
Mhm.
and there's no estrogen. It's actually called soy-free fava bean
Yes.
tofu. So there's
Yeah.
plenty of things but that's more the propaganda. Somebody came
Yeah.
up with this, oh, there's estrogen in soy milk and we don't need it. But again, the cow's milk has twice the amount. What are you talking
Mhm.
about? And just
Yeah.
because something has been going on for a long time, since when does that justify it? We've been
Yeah.
killing each other since time immemorial. We've been raping women. We've been molesting children forever. Does that mean that that's okay? That's like the worst argument. In fact,
Yeah.
that just proves to me
Yeah.
when people tell me we've been eating animals forever, you've just admitted to me that animals have been victims forever. Thanks for acknowledging they've been
Mm.
victimized since time immemorial too.
Mm. Wow. You're these again, I want to send this episode to everybody all listen because I'm like, y'all need to just be educated. I think that's it. And you're so great at that of getting the point across, but also like you said, with humor, with information. And you also, I will say you had brought up that you believe in God, you believe in Jesus. The
I
amount
do.
of people, the amount of vegans that I've also met that are very much atheists, God doesn't exist, doesn't do this. So to be able to be such a pro vegan and somebody who believes in God, it's very hard to find somebody that's able to defend. And I've met doctors again who are able to do that. But just for you to have this on this podcast, it's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we can have a talk about that because that's where I've felt so lonely in my journey. Is that yeah.
I've had a lot of arguments with my atheist vegan friends. And it's not because they're atheist. I don't care what you believe in or if you don't believe.
Hmm.
I care whether
Hmm.
you are harming somebody else intentionally or not,
Hmm.
whether you're exploiting. But here, what my right hand woman back in the day who passed away from a drug overdose,
Mm.
unfortunately, Laura Rogers. We did a lot of activism back in the 90s. She was a hardcore atheist, and she refused to listen to me when I told her how to discuss the Bible with people because she would
Yeah.
just say, "Oh, God doesn't exist." I said, "Well, that's great, Laura. Now they just walked away. How are you helping the animals by telling them God doesn't exist? Why don't you
Yeah.
tell them all the things I told you today on this show?" I
Yeah.
said, "Here's what you
Yeah.
can say and make them go,
Yeah.
oh my God, really? Oh my God, this doesn't make
Yeah.
sense." So, in order to get my point across with her, I said, "Do me a favor. Can you tell me scientifically why animal research doesn't work?" Now, I had taught her some of this stuff. So she says, "Well, yeah, Gary,
Mm.
there's no extrapolative coefficient. There's no formula for making research on a mouse relevant to a human being. You can't work on a mouse to help a
Yeah.
horse. Can't work on a horse to help a monkey. Can't work on a monkey to help a pig. But all of a sudden, they want to tell us you can work on monkeys and horses and mice to help human beings. There's no scientific justification.
Yeah.
And we have different physiologies, right? Different immunologies. Everything reacts differently in different species." So she answered me and I said, "Oh, are you a scientist? Were you going to medical school at night?" She goes, "No." I said, "Oh, so you know how to discuss vivisection from a scientific angle, not just an ethical one, even though you're not a doctor, but you don't want to discuss the Bible, even though you don't believe in God." Same concept.
Yeah.
Learn your biblical arguments and talk to people and don't dismiss them. You should
Yeah.
care what somebody else believes in. You should care how they're treating other beings.
Mm.
And listen, because there are plenty of vegan Christians, there are plenty
Hmm.
of vegan Jews and vegan Muslims, there are plenty of religious
Yeah.
vegans all around the world. What's your problem with them? I have no problem with them. It's absurd. So don't dismiss them
Mm.
so easily. Now, I want to tell you something. When I was in jail for the mink liberation in 97, I liberated 1,500 mink.
Yeah.
I never thought about myself, honestly. With all this activism, I was always the last person I ever thought about. It was always the animals first. I bring this up because a lot of people think, "Oh, Gary's arrogant, Gary's narcissistic." I don't think my life is more important than a worm. Literally,
Yeah.
if I see a worm on the sidewalk, I pick him up and move him to the grass. I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to suffer, and I don't
Yeah.
think my life is more special.
Yeah.
So 2 years later, after the trial goes down, I'm sentenced to 6 months in a max detention center. First night, they closed the cell door on me. That was the first time in 2 years during this incident that I thought about myself because now I'm sitting in a cage. And I go, "Oh, man, where am I? What have I done? Am I supposed to be here?" God spoke to me, and a voice came to me as clear as day and said, "Don't you dare stop. You
Mm.
continue to speak for my animals." you continue on this path. So this is what's propelled me so much too. Is I've been ordained, I've been ordered to do this, and I will
Hmm.
speak for them. I will be their mouthpiece, and I do absorb a lot of their suffering, which is why it messes me up so much over the years. I wish I could absorb all their pain and their suffering. I wish I can take away all the exploitation and put it on myself. I can't. I wish I could, though, honestly. But yeah, once again, I'm only harsh on religious people because they exclude animals from all this
Hmm.
talk of love and
Yeah.
decency. And I
Yeah.
think it's nonsense. And let me tell you another story. I tell this a lot, but it's a
Hmm.
great story. I also believe God speaks through me, which is so
Yeah.
a lot of times I love to freestyle. And a lot of times I'll start something and I don't know where it's going. I have this crazy brain. Even as I'm
Yeah.
speaking, my brain is going, what's the point you're trying to make? I always believe that God's going to put the right words in my
Hmm.
mouth at the end.
Hmm.
So I'm at Valley Forge Christian College in rural Pennsylvania. I used to speak there all the time for Dr. Reverend Bruce Marino's classes.
Yeah.
Great class. Again, 50%, always, it didn't matter where I was. So this one time, we're doing a Q&A and I'm doing the peaceful scriptures and I'm winning the crowd over. But then somebody brings up, oh, Genesis 9:3, everything that moveth along the ground is yours for food. And then back and forth, we're having a scriptural battle. So I'm winning them over, I'm losing them. I'm winning, I'm losing. So I can be dramatic, as you could probably tell. So I stand in front of the class as they're getting a little out of hand with my hands up in the air like this,
Yeah.
eyes closed in silence. Now, this goes on for about 45 to 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And I started hearing them murmur, what's he doing? What's this guy doing up there? I'm waiting for them to shut the hell up. So finally, silence. Now, I didn't know where this was going, but the idea I had was I'm going to think of every horrible thing that humans do to animals. And I'm going to preface each example by saying, if God says it's okay. So I start, if God says it's okay to keep elephants in chains in the circus, if God says it's okay to steal babies from their moms, if God says it's okay to electroejaculate male animals and steal their sperm so we can rape female animals and impregnate them, if God says it's okay, if God, this goes on for 2 or 3 minutes. At the top of I'm getting louder and louder. And
Yeah.
they're shrinking in
Wow.
their seats more and more. And I'm like, if God, and now I'm getting to the end. I can't think of
Yeah.
any other horrible, I think I listed every horrible thing. If God says it's okay, then what does the devil do? It shocked me too, because
Damn.
I think to this day it was the tightest thing that I ever said. And as I said it, I said, "Don't ever forget this." Wow, that was tight, but it was one of my freestyles. I said,
I
"Then
know.
what does the devil do?" And
Wow.
everybody was frozen. And the Reverend Bruce Marino was in the back of the room, arms crossed, and he went like this. He shook his head and said, "Everybody give Mr. Yourofsky a round of applause. A little fire, we shed the light on some darkness."
Yeah.
And sure enough, 50% of the crowd came up and said, "Oh my God, in the name of Jesus, I'm going to be vegan in the name of Jesus." And then I
Yeah.
heard the other ones walking out, "I'm still going to eat meat. I'm still going to eat meat. Jesus ate fish." There's all that. I'm like, oh my God, like what? Sometimes there is nothing you can say to reach
Yeah.
somebody because they're unreachable, at least at that moment. And that's what's sad to me. Like, as much as I loved reaching 50% of the crowd, I was never satisfied because I wanted the other 50%.
Mm.
It was no, it's and nowadays people are reporting that I've converted over 1 million people worldwide because that speech went viral and it's been
Yeah.
translated into more than 30
Yeah.
languages.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as wonderful and amazing as that is, I don't think there's any other person on this planet ever that has converted more people than I have. It's not enough because there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 98% that aren't vegan. When I did my Israeli tour in 12 and 13, the Israeli media has still reported that I've converted between 5 to 10% of the entire population. It
Wow.
was the most amazing thing I ever experienced.
Incredible.
People were standing in the streets
Yeah.
when I was lecturing, hundreds, and they'd have to get a projector, put it in the street, and people would watch my speech in the standing in the
Wow.
street for 70 minutes.
Amazing.
But it was never like and then there was one event they took me to. I converted the fanciest restaurant in Tel Aviv. I can't remember the name, slips my
Okay.
mind right now. I converted the owner to vegan, so she changed everything to vegan, the restaurant. They invite
Yeah.
me for this big fundraiser for the Freedom Farm Animal Sanctuary down there, and there's 300 people there. So I walk around, I say hi to everybody, pictures, all that stuff. I finally finish. I sit down in the corner, and the people I'm with, I lean over, I go, everybody in here is vegan because of me? And everyone says, yeah, Gary, they're all Gary vegans. Yeah. Like everybody is here because of
Oh,
me. They're like, yeah. So I go like that. I go, hang on a second. And I look around the room and I go, how come I'm not satisfied? It doesn't do anything for me. Because it's not, because for
yeah.
the animals, it's never enough. There's still slaughter.
Mm,
Like, okay, let's say I got
yeah.
5% of the population. Well, 95% I didn't get. 5%
Yeah.
is amazing, by the way. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
amazing number.
The fact
Even
that you
my
did
50% conversion, my 50% conversion rate is nothing. 60 minutes? Even
thing.
on bad day, even when I had a bad lecture where the crowd was crazy, the professors always did surveys and said I had at least a 15 to 20% conversion rate, even on a
Wow.
bad Jerry Springer show day where
Wow.
people started screaming and yelling at me. It was so nuts. And to
Wow.
show that it's for anybody who thinks, well, Gary's too radical or whatever, I don't know. People are so crazy. I was at University of Akron at a
Yeah.
couple lectures in one day. The first class tells me during Q&A that I sound like Timothy McVeigh. I said, hey, the guy that blew up the Oklahoma City building that killed 150, 200 people? What? You're out there like Timothy McVeigh. You're crazy. I'm like, I'm trying to get you to stop killing cows and pigs. I don't want you to kill. And I sound like a killer. So it melts my brain. I'm like, oh my God. Next class, I kid you not, Q&A.
Yeah.
Man, you sound like Gandhi. I said, oh my God, do you know the first class said I was Timothy McVeigh and you're saying I'm Gandhi? I used to get emails, back-to-back emails. The first email would say, man, you're like the second coming of Jesus. You're like the Martin Luther King of the animal rights movement. Man, it's amazing. You changed my life, ended up changing my family's life. And then the
Wow.
next email, you're the devil. You're the devil. You're like Hitler. I'm like, how could I be Jesus and the devil? You know why? Because it's not me. It doesn't matter what I say.
No.
It's you. If
No.
you
Yeah. So,
perceive me as the devil or Jesus, it's on your perception of me, whether you're willing
my
to
gosh.
listen. Because anybody
Yeah.
you don't want to listen to, no matter how
Yeah.
much truth they speak, will sound
Mm-hmm.
like the devil to you. And I want to remind people, nowadays we know how wonderful Martin Luther King Jr. is, and Malcolm X, and Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman, and Nelson Mandela. In their time, people forget they were despised and hated too. People that
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to listen called them the devil, called them the Hitlers, called them all the horrible
Yeah.
names that you can come up with. It's only after society grows a little, looks back and says, oh, Mandela sat in prison for 27 years because he wanted to end apartheid. Okay, I see what he did. Oh, Dr. King and Malcolm X, they just wanted segregation to end. They wanted the right to vote and equal say in society. So I believe one day meat, dairy, and egg eaters, the animal exploiters, will look back at vegans and go, they
Oh,
just
yeah.
wanted baby pigs to stay with their mamas. They just wanted all the moms to keep their babies who belonged to them to
Yeah.
begin with. So, yeah.
You are, well, everything. I mean, honestly, I could talk to you for 3 hours. I just want to keep
I've
hearing you,
done
but
3-hour
I just,
podcasts before, but
so, so one day when I have over 1 million subscribers, I'm going to have you back again.
sure.
But I do want to just everything. Thank God you've been saying this. Like, I just appreciate it so much. And I do want to talk about Sasha Farms. So please tell me, we'll pivot over that because I do want to dive into what you're doing with them and talk to us a little bit about that and how we can help.
Sasha Farm is a wonderful paradise for animals. It's a place where animals are no longer objects. They're not numbers. They have names. Bima, Vern, Poa. I just did an Instagram video about Poa,
Yeah.
the injured baby sheep, the
Mhm.
lamb that we're trying to give a wonderful life to. And Vern just got brought there a baby pig, and Bima's the most beautiful cow anyone has ever seen in the world. And this is a place where they're allowed to exhibit their natural behaviors. They're allowed to do whatever they want to do. If they want to go out in the sun on a sunny day, they can go out in the sun. They want to sit in the shade on a sunny day underneath a tree, they go sit under a tree. If it's too cold, they want to go sit in the barn, they sit in the barn. They can eat when they want. There's always hay out there. There's always some kind of food out there. There's always water, drink when they want. And I bring this up because think about that. We actually deny nearly every animal the right to eat or drink water when they want. We dictate that. What if somebody did that to you? Again, place yourself in the victim's position. These are things you take for granted. So this place is a paradise. I've been going there since 96, since I became vegan. It is the real Garden of Eden. I've been there. It's a lovely place. And as vegans, for the vegans listening, these animals rely on us right now. So it's important that we donate and help them. They need funds. It's not cheap to run a sanctuary. And if you want to support the sanctuary, by the way, in your city, if you're not from Michigan, please do so. I don't care which sanctuary you support. Sanctuaries around the world are struggling now because people there's some stupid philosophy out there that it's a waste of money to send money to a sanctuary when you could put it somewhere else. But listen, go ask the cow, the pig, and the chicken if it's a waste of money. And we are killing 1 billion cows on the planet every year. There's a couple thousand at sanctuaries around the world, and we can't even come up with the money to take care of them. Now, I also believe that every meat, dairy, and egg eater should be funding these sanctuaries. There should be a tithe, attached to their salaries for the horrible atrocities they're committing. But that's just a fantasy of mine. I know that's not reality. So right now it's the vegans. We got to come up with the funds. And if you're close enough to a sanctuary, please volunteer some time. They always need help cleaning up the poop, changing the hay, feeding the animals, taking care of them and all that stuff. And if anyone's in Michigan, by the way, the next Sasha Farm event, I just did the spring social. I was there last couple weeks ago. August 2nd is the Humane Fair. I will be there if anybody wants to hang out with me and chit chat, take a picture or something. Please go on August 2nd. And there's other events throughout the year. They have a vegan chili cook-off later in the year. I think it's in October or something. But it's just a wonderful paradise, and they're really struggling now. Although things are getting better, I've been mentioning them in all the podcasts I've been doing. So I want to thank everybody for helping out. People that are listening, it is working. It's just, it costs a lot to feed the animals. It costs a lot to take care of them, make sure the fences are up to protect them. And if anybody says, somebody told me on a podcast that, Gary, somebody said the animals are enslaved at the sanctuary. God, my brain melts with the idiocy that meat, dairy, and egg eaters come up with. Here's a simple answer to that. If we let the cows and the pigs and the chickens run free, you'd fucking kill them. What do you mean? We have to put a fence up. You guys won't let them be free. And they have plenty of space, by the way. It's a 50-acre piece of land. But people are amazed. Like, people will try to point out some kind of flaw in the vegan lifestyle. Oh, but what about this? But don't you do this? You know what? Why can't we just get here? Crop deaths, right? People, oh, Gary, but animals die in the crops that you eat. Well, first of all, this world is run by meat, dairy, and egg eaters. You act like vegans are doing the killing there. But I'll tell you what, since vegans have come up with a solution to save all the cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, and fish by not eating them, and we've come up with the solution to save the animals from vivisection laboratories by using cellular biology, molecular biology, in vitro computer models, and AI models. Like, we have solutions to all the things that we're fighting against. Let's solve that. Let's do that. Then let's get together and we'll solve the crop deaths. But they want to use that as an excuse. Well, there's some mouse getting killed in some field somewhere, so you're going to go eat cows and pigs and chickens. I don't even understand. And by the way, more than 50% of all the crops in the world are used to feed the animals that meat, dairy, and egg eaters eat. So what the hell are they even talking about? It's another problem that they're taking part in. But I digress.
No,
back to Sasha. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, back to Sasha Farm. Please help Sasha Farm.
Yes.
The website is sashafarm.org. And any donation will help.
Yeah.
If you're close enough there, you can volunteer as well. and it's just a sanctuary, and it's also a great place to finally meet the animals. I
Yeah.
even noticed this with vegans.
Yeah.
Most vegans never see the cows and pigs and chickens that they're always helping. If you haven't had a chance to hang out with these animals, I
Mhm.
highly recommend it. It's so peaceful and wonderful to see who they really are and not who society wants you, and
Mhm.
not what society wants you to believe about them.
Mhm.
You need to go out there and meet them, and see them for the individuals that they are.
Yeah. And I
And you're
I
going to
have
find
gone
out
to,
they're actually just like the dogs and cats.
yeah, I've gone to an animal farm sanctuary back in 2021. I've gone a couple times, and there was a retreat there that I had a company at, and we were all volunteering, helping out. And the amount of people that were like, I didn't know pigs were that big. I didn't know cows were that big. And it was like mind blowing because I had gone when I was younger to farms and whatnot. But I think that was something that when I noticed people around, they were just like, I've never seen a pig this big. I didn't know pigs were that big. They think of like the little pink, like the little ones, and they don't think of the huge animals. And I'm like, yeah, but they're so nice. And even if you don't want to pet them or anything, like you can still support. Cause I know people who are like, they don't want to touch animals or they're nervous, but they still want to support. It's like, you can still support. You don't have to go up and touch and hug the animals. You can just support them without needing to do that or eat them. Like you don't have to do any of that. Just supporting them in whatever way you can. But oh my gosh, this has been wonderful. Like I feel so lucky, so
Keep in mind,
blessed.
by the way,
Yeah,
Julia,
yeah,
let me say one more thing. So the
yeah. Go ahead.
pigs that people see at the sanctuaries, the ones that are 4, 5, 6, 700 pounds,
Yeah.
that's not normal. Those are genetically modified pigs by the meat industry. And a normal sized pig is supposed to be about 250, maybe
Hmm.
300 pounds at the most. So this is something
That's
else, by the way,
why.
back to the God thing. Does anybody that believes in God thinks that God wanted us to genetically modify his animals and play God?
Mm,
I mean, how do people justify that? Because there's not one animal that people eat that has not been genetically
mm,
modified. They all are. That's why in colleges they have animal husbandry classes. They are figuring out, and they have been, like, animal husbandry. Well,
yeah.
a male animal and female animal don't need help to fornicate. What do you mean to procreate? They know how to do it, but they're trying to genetically alter them, and this is what they teach. This is what animal ag classes
Mm,
are all about. How do we create a bigger turkey, a bigger chicken? In fact, when I was a kid, I'm 55 now, so when I was a kid, Thanksgiving, those turkeys, they used to be 10 to 14 pounds. Nowadays, these turkeys are 18 to 28 pounds. Well, what
mhm.
do people think have been going on? They've been getting trained by Julia? They've been at the gym working out? Are you fucking kidding me? They've been genetically modified. This is not normal. This
Wow.
is anti-God. Who the hell do we think we are that we can play God and genetically modify his creations and again steal their
Mm,
babies and kill them and act like judge and jury. And I'll leave you
mhm.
with a funny thing too. Dennis
Yeah.
Leary, a funny comedian. I love comedians.
Mhm.
Dennis Leary actually has a skit where he talked about humans play God with all the animals. I was shocked when he was doing this. I'm like, oh, where's this going? And he says, you ever notice that animals have to step before us and prove why we should let them live? So, for instance, I'm standing and they're all standing in line and I'm God. And the first animal I say, so who are you? What do you do? Well, I'm a river otter. I roll on my back and I do cute little human things with my hand. He said, "Ah, okay, you can go. Who the hell are you? What do you do?" Well, I'm a cow. I just sit in a field and eat grass all day. Goes, bullshit. You're a baseball glove. Get on the truck. Next. Now,
Yeah.
it's funny. Listen, I don't mind it. I don't mind a good joke because
Yeah.
it's truthful. That's truthful sarcasm.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right? The dog. Oh,
Mhm.
dog, you can live it. You can not only live freely, you can live with us. You can live in our
Mm,
houses. Cats, you can come with
mm,
us. Yeah, but squirrels, you can hang out in my backyard. But all
mm.
of a sudden, cows, no, you're a baseball glove, you're a briefcase. Chickens, you're a bucket of wing, you're an egg machine. And all we do is pick and choose who should live and who should die. Who do we be nice to and who are we mean to? And I don't know why we can't simply choose to be kind,
Mm,
compassionate to all. Why do we pick and choose? Why do we endlessly have to go through this cycle of having one group prove their worth to the larger group?
mm.
We do it with humans and we do it with animals, and it's this endless rerun, right? It's this
Wow.
horrible sitcom that keeps happening
Yeah.
over and over, the same arguments. You don't count. You don't matter. I'm more important than you. I'm better than you. Your life is invaluable. And then we got to prove. And then society goes, well, no, okay, all right, you can come. Why? And this is why change takes so long, too.
Yeah.
You realize that we have to ask the exploiters, ask the slave masters, ask the oppressors not to
Mm,
exploit anymore. It's a
wow.
tough task to ask those
Yeah.
who victimize not to victimize anymore.
I mean, look at a lot of things that have happened in this country and who's leading it and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of things and places that people can, everybody can improve in. But your case is so strong that right? Like, how could somebody argue with everything you present? And even myself, somebody who's not I'm good with arguments in a science, like for the plant-based health stance, from a health stance. And for when people would ask me for vegans, I'm like, well, it's cruelty. Why would we want to harm something or somebody? And then people would bring up the Bible. I'm not well versed enough to be defending that against pastors and other people who are. And I'm like, but I know those people exist that could do a good job. Maybe I can't do a great job, but it comes down to education. Even just like hearing this, I've taken so many notes, but like just for myself to go out and be able to explain to people, like just from even the Christian point of view. So,
Yeah, and I don't, all these people expect to receive mercy, but they can't even give it. I don't understand. If
mm,
people want to read a really good book, it's by Matthew Scully. It's called Dominion. And
mhm,
actually, that's a quote from him. He says, every religious person I ever met has always expected to receive all the mercy in the world. But how can you expect to receive something that you are unwilling to give? And I'll even throw this out there.
mm,
I did an Instagram video on this too. Let's just say you want to dispute everything I just told you about God during this whole episode.
mhm,
Let's say everything I said is wrong and blah, blah, blah. Well, how about this? I'm just going to make a plea then. Can't you do it for the vegans on the planet that you say humans are more special than animals, even though I disagree? But let's say you're right. Well, I'm human. You're human. 2% of the world is vegan and can't sleep at night because all we do is see slaughterhouse images in our head. All we do is think about the animals who are being tormented because it's tormenting us. Can't you just stop? Can't you just do it for your fellow human being then? I want you to do it for the animals. I want you to understand right from wrong and be ethical. But if that's not possible, then how about just stopping it for us? Or how about just stopping because you've been doing it to them for thousands of years? Can't you have mercy on your victims now? And these
mm,
victims aren't out to harm you if you set them free. How many people have been attacked and killed by a chicken in the history of humankind? Zero or
mhm,
zero? How many turkeys have attacked and killed a human being in history? Zero or zero? All I'm asking then, if you want to throw all my biblical arguments out, can't you just stop and be merciful just for the sake of mercy?
mm,
You've had your fun for thousands of years. When does it end? Can't you just move on? Can't you just evolve, by the way? Don't we? And listen, we don't live like we used to thousands of years ago when people bring up what we used to do. I don't care what we used to do. When do we evolve and change and grow and learn? Why do we want to hang on to this archaic, barbaric, medieval way of viewing animals and treating them like nothing, like property? When does that evolution take place? And it
mm.
doesn't mean you have to stray from God. Again, I believe in God. You believe in God. You can eat plants and still worship God.
Mhm.
Shocking. You can still be kind to God's animals and still honor God. In fact, the best way, once again, to honor God would be to honor his creations.
Mm.
Honor the beings that he created, the sentient beings, the beings that feel pain, that become scared, that can experience happiness and joy. Why not have them experience happiness?
Mhm.
Why have them experience
Yeah.
evil? Why?
Yeah.
Could you imagine being in a slaughterhouse for crying out loud? How about on a slaughterhouse
Yeah.
truck on the way to the slaughterhouse? Could you
Mhm.
imagine sitting in a cage your entire life? At a vivisection lab, if somebody came in, every time a two-legged human came into this room, somebody left and never came back because they were killing them in the other room, and you heard their
Mhm.
screams and their cries. It
Mm.
really makes no sense to me how we've strayed so much from God in a world where we claim that we love God. I think I saw a stat that 95% of the world believes in God. Well, we sure act like devils and we sure do devilish things. And we have sure made this world a living hell if you have four legs, if you have fur, feathers, horns, beaks, or gills. Do you think animals look at humans as gods or devils?
Mm.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be a devil to anybody. But when
Mhm.
I go up to the animal, I got squirrels on my balcony. They're sitting there right now, like, hey, where are them peanuts at, Gary? I just want to give them a little handful of peanuts. And then they look at me,
Mhm.
sit there, like, oh, isn't this great? I'm like, hey, buddy, you're welcome here. You can come in the house if you
Yeah.
want. Sometimes I put peanuts in the house to see if they'll come in. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would love to share. I love to share this world
Mhm.
with them. But I don't know why meat, dairy, and egg eaters have to say the world belongs to us, not them.
Mm.
We've taken so much from them. And by the way, it's so hard to be an animal on this planet with us, right? We've taken their habitat, we pollute their habitat, cut down the rainforest to make room, by the way, to grow crops to feed to the animals.
Mhm.
Why? Why can't we just share a little? Why can't
Mm.
we just love a little? Why do we have to maximize cruelty? Why can't we minimize it? Again, it's hard enough to be an animal. Why compound how hard it is by stealing their babies?
Mm.
By impregnating female animals to make sure they have babies so we can kill those babies. Is it really necessary in the year 2026 to wear fur coats, to wear cow skin shoes? You got to be kidding me. When do we evolve? And nobody, by the way, no business has to go out of business. They just have to adjust. They just
Mhm.
have to adapt their business to
Yeah.
non-animal products. Easy thing. People, oh, it's so complicated. Well, since when is it complicated? Really? All the
That's what
people
they
that make
say.
McDonald's can't.
They would say, this was another argument of how many people would go out of business and be jobless if they closed the slaughterhouses, if they closed dairy industries. They were like, it would put millions out of work or whatnot. And I'm like, like, I guess people are like, you're not caring for the people, like you'd put them all of it out of a job. It's
It's such nonsense, though. But it's the same argument that they use with slave
yeah,
masters. Well, we're going to have to pay for labor now. And by the way,
yeah,
since when people make up this false belief of
yeah.
caring for somebody going out of business when they're harming somebody else? Again, you don't hear anybody crying about the businesses that went out of business because they didn't have free labor anymore when slavery stopped. And what about do people care about child molesters, child pornographers? If we
Mm.
put them out of business, well, hey, they're making money. What about drug dealers? People care about them going out of business too. And people are so full of it too. We live in a technology society right now, right?
Mhm.
So here's something
Mhm.
I would say to the students who would bring this up.
Yeah.
I say, which newspaper do you read? They say, what?
Mhm.
I say, which newspaper do you read? Or do you not read newspapers anymore? Because now you get your news online. You're putting the newspapers out of business. You know that they're folding
Yeah.
left and right. But that's okay. Nobody cares about them. And by the way, how many people go out and use a payphone?
Mhm.
Do you even know what a payphone is? I'm showing my age. You probably don't even know what one is. I say, oh, but you have cell phones. You know, there used to be a company that made payphones, but you put them out of business because you want a cell phone. We put people out of
Mhm.
business every single day and nobody gives a shit. And all of a sudden, if the slaughterhouse workers had to find a different job,
Mm,
people are like, oh my God, the poor people. It's more of that nonsense. They just don't want to look in the mirror. They
yeah.
try to come up with any excuse to avoid what vegans are telling them. And by the way, we're not looking to put McDonald's out of business. I'm not. I just want
Yeah.
McDonald's to be mixed soy one day. I want
Yeah.
Burger King to be Soy King one day. In fact, Burger
Yeah.
King has 5 or 6 all vegan establishments throughout the world because
Yes.
they're just going to change their menu. And the slaughterhouse people, the people that have fields full of animals, are now going to use those fields for what they were intended for, to grow
Mm,
crops, to feed human beings. Howard Lyman, people should check out his book, Mad Cowboy. Howard Lyman was a 4th generation
wow.
dairy farmer who stopped because here, quick story. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
rambling
No,
on
it's
now, but
okay.
Howard
It's
Lyman,
okay.
his story is he had a tumor on his spine. He was given a 1 in a million chance to ever walk again or even live. He says he prays to God, you get me out of this. I'll do everything in my power to be as righteous as possible. He got his 1 in a million chance. He walked again. He was fine after surgery. And you know the first thing he did? He shut down his dairy operation. He said, how can I walk around calling
Yeah.
myself a righteous person, doing the things that I do to these animals, stealing their babies, impregnating them, sending them off to the slaughterhouse when they can't produce milk anymore? He said, when I was a kid, this land used to have birds all over the place and bees and other insects and butterflies. By the time that he was an adult, everything was dead. Trees were dead from all the chemicals that he sprayed over all the animals, all the chemicals and all the crops he was raising. He killed the land, but the first thing he did was shut it down and bring it back to what it used to be. Stop putting all the
Mm,
chemicals out there too. So listen, no one's going out of business. This is about adapting. And for
mhm.
anybody that does go out of business, I've got some harsh news for people. Tough shit. I don't
Yeah.
care if you go out of business because your business was slicing somebody's head off. I don't
Yeah.
care if you go out of business because your business was raping children and doing pornography with them. I
Mm,
don't care if your business was sex slavery with women and you were put out of business because you finally got arrested. I don't care if your business was selling black slaves. I don't
mm,
care if you're doing something evil and you go out of business. I don't. But for the record, those big companies, they're not going out of business. They're just going to adapt. In fact, Silk Soy
mm,
Milk back in 2002, I believe, was bought by Dean Foods. At that
mm,
time, Dean Foods was the biggest supplier of cow's milk
mhm,
in
mhm.
America. Well, they saw the writing on the wall and said, well, we now want to be the biggest supplier of soy milk because we see the future 50, 100 years from now. People aren't going to
Yeah.
drink cow's secretions. They're going to be drinking this stuff.
Yeah.
So all
Wow.
the companies are already starting to buy up the vegan companies because
Yeah.
they see the future. They're business people.
Yeah.
Business people are
Yeah.
sharp in business and they see the
Yep.
future where it's headed. So stop fighting it, everybody. Stop making excuses to harm somebody else. Make an excuse not to harm. Make an excuse not to kill. Make an excuse to be merciful.
Mm,
Don't be like that student at Macomb County that just kill, kill, kill. But we kill them this way and kill them that way. Maybe we should kill them like this. How about not killing them at all? Did that ever
mm,
cross anybody's mind? Not killing, not enslaving, not
mm.
exploiting. It's a simple concept. It really is. But people
Wow.
like to complicate things and they hate change.
Wow. This was, oh my gosh, this was such a powerful, powerful episode. I'm like, again, I could go on and talk, and I'm just like, I think of you, and I'm like, why is he not talking to more of the world? Like, we need you all over. And you debated with the newscaster, wasn't it, on TV? You debated a newscaster and you shut her up.
I've debated several. There's a
I
famous
know.
one from Israel that
There
I
is a
did that
famous,
everybody really
okay.
liked. Yeah,
Okay. I
it
think
was
that's
on
the one. Yeah.
yeah, it was I-12 News or so. I don't even remember the news
Okay.
station, but by the way, it was typical. So I stopped doing American media around
Yeah.
2006, 2007.
Okay.
I find the media to be pretty worthless these
Yeah.
days because it's just entertainment, right? And
Yeah.
that's all. Even if it's a serious story, they're waiting for the weather. They're waiting for the stock market report. Who won the Monday Night Football game?
Yeah.
What's the latest movie? Who got divorced? it's just entertainment. So when I get to Israel, they beg me, you got to do the media. It's different out here. I go, why is it different? Media is the media. No, no, it's different. People listen. I'm like, all right. So I get there. Everything she said was the same typical shit that I got everywhere else. But it ended. I'm glad I did it because
Yeah.
I've been told by a lot of people that
That,
actually that interview made them vegan or made them vegan activists.
yeah.
This wonderful activist out in Germany named Oliver, he said he decided since he goes, man, you really stood up for the animals. You went back down. You had an answer to everything. And I
Yeah.
wanted to do the same thing. And that's why I became an activist. And he's a kick-ass activist. He's
Yeah.
got an answer for everything. Honestly, he's a wonderful activist. He's with the
Huh.
group Anonymous for the Voiceless.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, but there was another one. Actually, my favorite one was with a guy named Kobe Maidan out in Israel.
Okay.
That's also online. Now, that's my favorite interview because he wasn't the typical news person that wanted to argue with me.
Mhm.
Even though some of his questions were typical, he let me speak. And the truth is, even though it irks me to hear a, silly, dumb question, as long as you let me answer, I
Mhm.
never really mind it. I just want to answer. A lot of times
Mhm.
people won't let me answer. He backed off and I converted him. In fact, I know the
Wow.
moment, it was like halfway through the interview, and he was talking about a nice way to kill. And I said, do you know what a nice way to kill is? And he pauses and he says it with me because as I go, how about not? He goes, how about not to kill? And
Yeah.
I saw it happen. And I always saw it in the crowd.
Uh,
I saw Stu,
yeah.
I saw the epiphany
The
happen.
life.
I always, it was crazy. I was lucky because most people don't get to
Yeah.
see it. I saw people go
Yeah.
from this to ding, ding,
Open.
ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
now most people don't know this, but most news shows, even game shows like Jeopardy,
Yeah.
they don't record them every day, right? They spend a couple days, they record for the
Mhm.
whole month. So he was doing 5 interviews that day.
Yeah.
I was the first one. So I finished the interview. I go see the Israeli activist that arranged it all, and Maytal pulls me aside. She goes, Gary, Kobe just came up to me and said that you blew his mind. He just canceled the other 4 interviews for the day. He has to go home and ruminate more about what you just said to him. I said, what? I got him. I knew I got him. She goes, he is just like, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
And he was the Mike Wallace of Israel. He was a
Mhm.
serious newscaster. He wasn't a
Yeah.
stupid like local newscaster. So
Yeah.
it was. I really enjoyed that interview, and I enjoyed it the
Mm.
most because he let me talk. He let me respond. That one woman she was interrupting a lot, even though I
Yeah.
got my points out. I just don't know why people want to argue. Because if I was talking about child rape, sex
Mhm.
slavery, you ever notice that a newscaster never argues the other side for that?
Mm.
Right? They don't argue that.
True.
You could be an
So
activist for
true.
children and be like, oh my God, you are just the most wonderful person in the world. Tell
So
us more
true.
about how you're helping the kids. And then a vegan comes on and like, hey, this guy's radical. He wants to take away all the flesh, all the meat that the whole thing's a setup from the get-go. And why? And
Oh.
and and I have a BA in journalism. If
Yeah.
you're interviewing somebody, by the way, you're supposed to ask questions and then
Mhm.
listen to the answers.
Mhm.
You're not supposed to be a commentator. Go
Yep.
go be the color guy on the New York Knicks Spurs fucking game.
Yeah.
You want to give your opinion, right? You want to explain the game to somebody. That's a different job. If you're a newscaster, you ask questions. You shut up and listen and let the guests speak. But
Mhm.
boy, these people just want to, every time it's a vegan, they can't wait to interrupt and make fun and make jokes and be snide. It's really tilted the wrong way.
I
It's
will
biased.
say,
Yeah.
I think not innocently, because people are not innocent, but there are a lot of people who do not know, and there are people who are willing to listen, just like those people you converted. There are a lot of people who will listen and be like, I did not know all of that, and
And Julie,
yeah,
that was my whole goal. That was the reason
yeah,
I set up my lecture tour. By the way, I don't know if people know this. I was averaging 200 talks a year. I ended up
wow,
doing close to 2,700 lectures at 181 schools, I think, in 31
wow,
states. I was doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 talks in one day. And it was because you're right. You're 100% right. Most people don't know. That's why I want to go. And that's what, like, the people that listen realized I was there. Yes, you got scolded, but it was a friendly scold. It was, hey, wake
Yeah.
up. It was the George Carlin smacking your face. Hey, you guys are eating things that come out of a hen's ass. Can you wake up?
Yeah.
Can you use the
Yeah.
the logic for a change? So I truly believe that that's why I went from liberator to educator. Right. I went liberated the
Yeah.
mink, and I decided, and I didn't even,
Yeah.
by the way, I can't even take credit for this. I was in the news in the late 90s. If you watch the news in Michigan, I was in it. I was always getting arrested, doing civil
Yeah.
disobedience and doing mink liberation. So you
Yeah.
could get past the news once a week with a Gary Yourofsky, local activist, animal activist. He did this and he did that. And he was at the
Yeah.
circus protest. He chained his neck to his car at the Dietrich Fur store.
Oh my
So I was
gosh.
doing all this stuff. And
Yeah.
then I got invited to give a lecture at a high school in Canton, Michigan, Canton High
Mm,
School. I said, Gary, it's 800 students in 2 weeks. It's political action day. You want to come and tell us why you're always getting arrested for the animals? Never thought about it. And I said, oh, yeah. In fact,
yeah.
I didn't even think I didn't think it had a chance at being successful. So I had nothing
Yeah.
prepared. It was extemporaneous. I speak for 60 minutes, kind of like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
60 minutes. As I finish, I put my head down because I'm expecting to hear, fuck you, get a life. That's all I
Yeah.
ever heard on the street. F you, get a life. So, and all of a sudden, standing ovation. Now, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because I'm
Yeah.
shocked. I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world? I'm like, oh my God, nobody knows. Nobody knows. You
No,
didn't know? You got to
they
teach
didn't
them. This
know.
is what you got to do. So that's why I decided to come up with these lectures.
Wow.
I sent out mass emails to professors all over the country. Can I come speak to your philosophy class, sociology, women's
Yeah.
studies, black studies, however, nutrition, however I can make this relevant? I wanted to speak in your class. And it's because you're right. Nobody knows because we're
It's
lied
true.
to. It's propaganda, right? Religion
Yeah.
lies to us. Media lies to us. Government lies to us. Our parents lie to us. Everything is a lie. And I want to eradicate those lies. I want to spread some truths. And that's why I did this lecture tour. In fact, from 2000 on, I never did any other form of activism. I didn't do
Mhm.
protest anymore.
Yeah.
Everything was education based and it was a
Mhm.
lecture. And again, as many talks as I can do in one day. And
Yeah.
some of those days were exhausting. It's
Yeah.
exhausting to sit there. And
Yeah.
it's not only exhausting to have to perform for everybody,
Yeah.
it's exhausting to have to win everybody over. Everybody, again, they started out hating
Yeah.
me. And by the end, most actually adored me and loved me. And that's not
Yeah.
why I ever did anything or do anything,
Yeah.
but it's better to be loved than be hated. But it's
Yeah.
exhausting. Like, I have to win you over and go, I'm not crazy. I'm not nuts. No, yeah. What do you mean? I just don't want anyone to be harmed. How am I crazy? I'm asking you not to
Yeah.
shove a knife into a pig throat and you think I'm crazy. So if I came in here
Mhm.
and said, this is how you should kill pigs, you
Yeah.
think I was sane? That's what's this world is so weird to me. Like Canada. Canada
Yeah.
threw me out after the mink liberation. I've been banned to this day, banned
Really?
for trying to save animals, for trying to
Yeah.
stop mink from having their necks manually broken. Standard method of death for a mink on a fur farm is a neck breaking and rip their skin off. So I used to say to people, I even said to the judge, I said, so if I came to Canada with a better method of killing mink, if I opened up a place to kill mink, I'd be welcome. But I came here to stop the killing of mink and you throw me in jail and ban me from your country? Is this bizarro world? What world? Like I swear somebody's just messing with me
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Like this is just somebody's stupid simulation game. And there are most days now I look up at some point, like when I was watching the Antiques Roadshow I told you
Yeah.
about, and there's
Yeah.
three things in 5 minutes. I look up, I'm like, okay, somebody's having a good joke. Okay, ha ha ha. Let's fuck with Gary today. I'm like, what is going on? Where
Wow.
not killing is viewed as insane and killing is viewed as normal.
Yeah. It's
Brain melt.
this
I
world.
just
It is.
my brain is melting.
Yeah.
I don't
But
understand that.
it's like, it makes so much sense. Like when you break it down like that, I mean, I know this already, but when you break it down to to the average person, it like, how could it not make sense? How could it not make sense? So I just, oh my gosh, this has been, it is, it's like a brain melt. It's just it's been a wonderful episode though. Like I've loved every moment with you and just listening to you, because that's what I like to do. I like to ask questions and shut up. Like that's my goal. Is like ask questions. There's there's some people, it's usually the athletes that I have on that have a hard time talking, and they're not like, they're the ones I have to probe a little bit more and get and ask a ton more questions. But when you have somebody who's so passionate about what they do, like you, it's not it. You can ask like 2 questions and then spend we've spent 2 hours. This has been incredible, like 2 hours of talking about this. And I'm just so excited to be able to share this episode with everybody. So I will ask any final things or thoughts that you would like to add before we conclude today's episode.
I think I covered just about everything I wanted to say. Just open up your everybody that's not vegan, open up your circle of compassion. What do you have to lose, honestly?
Yeah.
You'd be more peaceful, more
Yeah.
compassionate. How are these viewed as negative things? Just
Yeah.
treat others like you would want to be treated. Live by the golden rule. Don't just
Yeah.
talk the talk. You got to walk the talk.
Mhm.
You're going to tell
Yeah.
me that you believe in justice, that you know right from wrong, that you have ethics, then you have to be vegan. Without
Mhm.
veganism, there are no ethics. Your ethics are compromised. You're not
Mhm.
treating beings fairly. You're not being equal to the animals. If you love your dog and you eat cows, well, why do you call one animal a companion and another dinner?
Mm.
Why? How? And besides size, shape, and color, what's the difference between a dog and a cow, a cat
Mm.
and a pig, animals that you love? It's only size, shape, and color. One more quick
Mm.
story just to drive this
Yeah.
point home.
Yeah.
My dad had mice in his house, and he says, Gary, you got to get these mice out. I'm like, don't worry, I'll come over. I got some live mouse traps. Saying, by the way, yeah, you don't have to kill anybody. It doesn't mean you have to live with them. Just catch them and
Yeah.
move them somewhere else. So I set up these traps. I caught 12 mice, took them to a field. The first mouse I took there, I let him out. He took ran about 20 feet, turned around. I swear he's like, thanks. I'm like, go ahead, buddy. So one day, my dad has this fear of mice, like a lot of people do. I'm
Yeah.
not mocking the fear, okay, but
Yeah.
I want people to think about why are we afraid of mice and snakes and sharks? And a lot of this is Hollywood, right? Hollywood movie, Jaws, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Society. So, anyways, my dad's laying in his bed with my dog Rex.
Mhm.
I caught a mouse. I said, Dad, don't freak out. I just want to come in the room and show you this mouse that I caught.
Mhm.
Okay? You okay? So okay. I have him contained. Don't freak. Okay. So I walk in the room. He's lying on the bed. There's Rex next to him. He's got his hand on Rex's back. He's scratching Rex's back. So I said,
Yeah.
Dad, look at this mouse. Besides 50 pounds, what's the difference between Rex and this mouse?
Yeah.
He goes silent. I said, they both have a tail. They both have whiskers. They got 4 legs, fur. What's the difference? Why did you want to kill them? And why do you want to pet him? He
Mhm.
said, I see what you said.
Mhm.
And again,
Wow.
I wish everybody would just be logical and rational.
Mm.
We don't have to have unmitigated killing that we do to these animals. Billions, again, more than 80 billion land animals.
Mm.
For a sandwich that we don't need? Really? More
Yeah.
than 2 trillion marine animals for a sandwich that nobody needs? Eat fruits and vegetables. Eat lentils and split peas.
Mhm.
Beans. Everything the human body needs, nuts and seeds, it comes from the earth. In fact, the
Mhm.
animals that people eat from the earth. Why are you filtering nutrients through their
You're a
bodies when you could
middleman.
be getting that stuff directly? Why filter it through somebody else's body
Yeah.
and cause so much cruelty and suffering and pain and misery?
Mm.
Eat directly.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Wow.
by the way, that soy
That's true.
thing we talked
Yeah.
about earlier,
Yeah.
90% of soy is fed to animals. So the whole estrogen thing again, if you're eating animals, you're eating animals that ate soy. This is what I mean, brain melt. Like you guys are bringing up things that you're violating. You don't even have, there's never been a good argument. In fact,
Yeah.
the more arguments that I hear, the stupider they get. And the more I think about them, I'm like, oh, did he just say he doesn't want to eat soy, but he's eating animals that eat soy? Oh my God! What is like? I'm living in. I'm living in bizarro world, I swear.
There's, oh my gosh. The point, like, I don't even know what else to add. It's just been all covered. And I'm like, not all of it, because there's like so many more things we could talk about. But just for our time, like, this has been just incredible and hopefully life-changing to people listening. So for those listening, I am going to include Gary's information. I will include his talks that you can explore more of. I will include information to donate to Sash's farm. I'll include the link for that. And so anything I possibly can include below, I will. I will also be donating to Sash Farm. So I will be doing that. Because I will do anything to help out you and to help out animals. So I'm really appreciative of you just taking your time and being on this podcast today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. No.
I appreciate you so much. And for everybody listening, again, I'm including all Gary's information below. And everyone, continue to keep living your best life. And I'll see you next week. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to the Best Life by You podcast with yours truly. I hope you go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and stay up to date with all the latest information. You can also follow me on Instagram at Julia_BestLifeByYou for more humor, podcast information, and all the above. I hope to see you soon, and let's continue to keep living your best life.